In a small village, nestled deep within a circle of mountains, there lived a young girl named Nira. Nira had a most unusual gift. She could borrow sunlight. Every morning, without fail, she would step outside her small cottage, close her eyes, and hold out her hands. As she stood there, a soft golden glow would begin to gather in her palms, warm and gentle, like the very first light of dawn. She would carefully guide this light into a small glass jar that she carried with her everywhere. The other villagers didn't quite understand how she did it, but they cherished her for this magical ability. Whenever someone in the village was feeling sad or lost, Nira would visit them. She'd open her jar just a tiny bit, and a warm, comforting beam of light would spill out, instantly brightening the room and lifting their spirits. The village children would giggle and laugh whenever they saw it dance across the walls. The elders said the light soothed their aches and pains. Even the grumpiest villagers couldn't help but crack a smile when that warm glow touched their faces. But Nira held a secret, a quiet burden she carried alone. Every time she borrowed the sunlight, she lost a little bit of her own warmth. With each act of kindness, her hands grew a little colder. Her smile faded, just a fraction. Her nights felt longer, lonelier. She never spoke of this to anyone, because seeing the joy her gift brought to others made her feel needed, made her feel useful, even if it was costing her a piece of herself. One year, a particularly harsh winter fell upon the village. It brought with it the darkest season they had ever known. Thick, heavy clouds blanketed the sky for weeks on end. The sun never once broke through. A deep weariness settled over the people, and a sense of hopelessness began to creep in. Shadows filled their homes and started to fill their hearts. Nira knew what she had to do. She walked to the center of the village square, her small jar held tightly in her hands. She placed it gently on the frozen ground and, taking a deep breath, opened it completely. A brilliant, magnificent light burst forth, a light so powerful it seemed to have a life of its own. It was warm enough to melt the frost on the windows and bright enough to chase away every last bit of gloom. The villagers felt a surge of hope rush back into them. They laughed, they hugged each other. Some even cried with sheer relief. But as the glorious light finally faded, Nira collapsed onto the ground. Her jar was empty. She had given away every last ray of sunlight she had ever saved. The villagers, their hearts full of a new and dawning understanding, rushed to her side. Worried and confused, they carried her home. For the very first time, they began to realize the true extent of her sacrifice. They saw how much she had given up for them, over and over again. They refused to leave her. They stayed by her side day and night, keeping her warm with blankets and their own body heat. They told her stories, sang her gentle songs, and held her cold hands, trying to share their own life and warmth with her. Days turned into a week, then two. Nira remained weak, her skin pale and cold to the touch. The entire village prayed for the sun's return. Then, one morning, a miracle. A single determined ray of sunshine broke through the heavy clouds. It streamed down from the heavens and fell directly on Nira's window, flooding her room with light. The villagers gathered and watched in hushed awe as the light touched her still hands. Slowly, a warmth returned to her fingers. Her breathing steadied. And then her eyes fluttered open. The sunlight, it seemed, had come back for her. From that day forward, Nira no longer borrowed sunlight. She didn't need to. The villagers, their hearts changed forever by her sacrifice, had learned her lesson. They became each other's light. They shared warmth, kindness, and hope with one another, just as she once had. And sometimes, on quiet, sun-filled mornings, Nira would still hold out her hands. Not to borrow the light, but simply to feel its warmth. To remind herself, and all of us, that even the smallest light can always return, even after the darkest of days. Thanks for listening. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that warm the soul.